Um, Good morning. Morning to everyone. Let me start with apologies for the delay. I think like some of us, I just assumed and drove to the PSL offices only to learn that we're here. Let me begin by firstly giving gratitude to the league and the sponsors, Nedbank, for this tournament, that it gives opportunity to all the teams, irrespective of league, to compete against each other. I think a venture like this has always and will always contribute in the development of players, young and old players, administrators, coaches. So it's a huge plus, I think, to the league and to the sponsors. I think too many times we come here and we don't give enough credit to the tournament itself. I think we're privileged as University of Pretoria to have advanced to the last 16 of the tournament after a very difficult trip to Hungry Lion in Uppington, which has had its effects, but it's good to be in the last 16. We're playing a very, very strong team. We have no hesitations, no illusions about that. A team that I highly respect, Sekhukhune United, top 3 team in the league. They've had 3 consecutive wins in their last 3 games. Good management, good technical staff under the leadership of Coach 𝐜𝐸𝐬𝐬 with Paulos Maseye and Andre Arendse. And yeah, we've played them a couple of times in preparation games. So we go into this fixture almost as open books to each other. But I think on paper, and not just on paper, performances in the league so far, there's no doubt that the advantage is to Sekhukhune. You know, we are not doing so well in our campaign, and we know we are going through a transition period. We know we're rebuilding a club, but the Nedbank Cup has these opportunities that it gives to the small teams, to the underdogs. And in 2009, Tuks made it all the way to the final. So maybe it might be that as much as we're struggling in the league, we can cause 1 or 2 upsets in the Nedbank Cup. So we're preparing as best as we can for the game. We've watched their last couple of games as they would do the same with us. Like I say, very, very strong team. So there will be some tactical adjustments for the approach for the game. But most important is the mentality. And I think what we've been saying to the players this week is that a lot of the time you don't have to motivate a lot the players for the cup games, especially when you play a PSL team, and even more so when you play a team that is top 3 in the league. So we will be prepared for the game. Challenges, everybody has challenges, everybody has injuries, everybody might have suspensions. So with the players that we have available, it's important for us to get results, whether it's cup or league. But the good thing about the cup is that we are 4 games away from the final, and I think that is the driving desire for us. So yeah, tough game, but I feel that we will be up to the challenge on Sunday.
Thank you so much, Coach, especially for those kind words. Thank you. Let's take questions from the floor by show of hands. Oh.
Coach Tapan from Soccer coming into the new year, when I had the chat with you, I think there was a lot of things that seemed to be promising on your side, and even players returning from injury and some of the new signings that you've had. What would you say has been the problem? Because even the other day, I think you had taken the lead against Leicester for them and gone to lose 2-1. What's affecting you at the start of 2026, and just how is Jody Shene settling in since coming into the team during the January transfer?
I think, as I've said in my intro, we're not doing well. I think by the standards I had set for myself, the standards that we had set ourselves as a team, we are underperforming, and we accept that. And yeah, I personally, on behalf of the team and the players, probably apologize for that to everyone who wears this badge with pride. But like we spoke, we've made a couple of signings into the team. We had a lot of injuries in the first half of the year, and a couple of players have come back. But unfortunately, it's taken time for them to find rhythm. You know, a case in principle is Prince Lumalo. You know, Prince is back. He's our top striker, but he's struggling to find his rhythm. He's struggling to find his mojo, and we have to be patient with that. On the other side, we've had Musa Wenkosi that we've signed, a striker who was previously with Kruger, who has come in and done well. You have Jody Ashin that has come into the team, a young player that just come back from the Under-20 World Cup. And I think when I speak of Jody, I probably have to put all the Under-23s in one basket, in saying that in the struggles that we've had with the league, we have learned some lessons, you know. It could be that maybe too many youngsters at one time. But as we say, it's a building process. It's a project. We have to be patient with it. But cup games they've got no age. It's about mentality. It's about who wants it the most. Yes, Sekhukhune is a very, very experienced team. A lot of experienced players, a lot of maturity in that team, CAF experience. But I think we are aware of the mistakes we've made, both from a technical level and a management level. We know the challenges we have in terms of the young players, but they are going to mature. We have to give them the opportunity. And I think this tournament is also about that. It's also about giving these young players an opportunity that they can make names for themselves. We'll see the team. We're trying out a couple of things in order to turn the results around. But I think the biggest challenge that we've had is scoring. You know, I heard Coach Eric speaking on the weekend after his game, and he says their XG has been low. I don't even want to imagine what our XG, what ours is. Coach Pogiso of Orbit said the same thing. We play well. We dominate games. Our challenge has always been in the final third. And also our challenge has been concentration in terms of conceding goals in the critical phase. In the last 32, we played Hungry Lions, completely dominated the game. We're leading 1-0, and we go and concede an equalizer 30 seconds to the end of the game in extra time. You know, you play Leicesterford, you completely dominate the first half, you are leading 1-0, you come back second half in the league and you concede 2 goals. Okay, we were down to 10 players due to an injury. But it's lessons that we are learning, and I think in that we can only get stronger.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take the next one. We get the mic to Tim.
Well done on that long trip that you were very concerned about. Just for football interest, what did you find in that region that you feel that they don't make them not to have professional players in the PSL? Because the Northern Cape, you know, from the likes of Jimmy Dow and all of that, it has gone dry of football players. As a development coach yourself, not that a development coach in a sense, but a person who likes young players, is there anything that you found there that you feel the big teams are missing out on, including Tuks as well? And the second one, just to follow up on that, the age bracket is open on this competition. Does Kwanele Kopo continue using the same format of the younger players, the under-23s, and you know, or you just approach it open-minded to say, 𝐜𝐤𝐬𝐬, I can use any player on this one, there's no cap?
Let me start with the second question, and I think I had the same question in the previous press conference for the last 32. The composition of our squad is that we have a lot of young players. The choice or the selection for the team that's going to play on the weekend is the team that is best prepared and the team that we believe can deliver results. In the last game that we played against against Hungry Lions, sorry for that, the goal scorer was Sfiso Mazibuko. He's an under-23 player. The assist came from Aphelele Teto. He's an under-23 player. So if the players are good enough, and I think, like I said, I've spent a lot of time at youth, and I'm one that is passionate about giving young players an opportunity. And like I've said today, the Nedbank tournament and the Nedbank projects in football are also about giving young players an opportunity. So I think this question does not need to be asked, or at least to me, because if he's 16 and is good enough to play, he's going to play. The first question on players from that region, we have Samuel Julius, who comes from that side. But I think it's about opportunity. You know, I don't think we must underestimate the Northern Cape. There's a lot of talented players there, and they bring a certain profile also in the game that you don't find in other provinces. A lot of fighting spirit, a lot of speed. But are we affording those players an opportunity? That's the question I think all professional clubs in South Africa have got to ask ourselves. How many times are we going there to scout players? And I think we have a responsibility as clubs, but also with governments and all that, to provide opportunities for these players, and not only to scout at national tournaments and all that, but to go into the provinces and unearth talent. But I have no doubt that there's a lot of talent in the Northern Cape, just like any other province. But I think the biggest challenge is that maybe our clubs are not reaching out enough to those provinces. And this tournament, again, provides that opportunity, in that if you do well in your province, you're going to get to the last 32 and you get a platform to showcase yourself, and hopefully professional teams then can grab you from there.
Thank you, Coach. Let's move the mic to Mazola.
It's not often that obviously you get to play a top flight team and you get that chance in this competition. I mean, regardless of the results, I mean, I know in last presser you mentioned a 3-year project, if I'm not mistaken, but you know, how far along will this go in kind of gauging where your team is coming up against a team that you just said that you rate very highly, coached by, you know, a top coach and a former AFCON winner, and just to see the level of your players against a Betway Premiership team?
Yeah, I think, you know, this week I've given a warning to our players that I think, as you guys would know, when we have pre-season and when we have these FIFA weeks or a break in between, we get to play friendlies against these teams. And sometimes a lot of the lower division teams come out of these friendlies with a positive result, which can have both a positive and a negative effect. Because sometimes we get carried away with the result rather than the performance, rather than analyzing the performance. And what I always say is that when a team in a lower division plays a team in a higher division, firstly, psychologically, there's motivation. So some things are more adrenaline than tactics, you know. But in this game, we're playing an experienced team that knows how to deal with those things. In the last 32, they played Highbury and they got a result. From a project perspective, we're looking for results every week. When we don't get the results, we analyze the cause. And I think we more or less know what our challenges are. Playing Sekhukhune United, I think, yes, I've worked a lot at youth level, but I've also worked at professional level. And I think that we are able, with my technical staff, to analyze Sekhukhune, to identify and we are working on that. And I think, having watched their last couple of games, there are areas that we've identified in their team. Obviously, we have to hold the storm first. How do we hold the storm? Are we going to be defensive, or do we hold the storm through possession? That is going to be determined by the approach that Sekhukhune puts to the game. But we're a team that plays a possession-based game, and we want to do that on Sunday. But we're not going to be naive as to the challenges. You know, in the last game that they played, the team that they played, also a team that possession-based orbit, they considered a goal orbit from build-up in the first 4 minutes of the game. So you learn from those things. You say, okay, this might be the approach. How do we bypass that? So tactically, I think it's going to be a chess game. But most important is that the players have got to be up to the challenge. And I think for the cup game, players are always motivated.
Thank you, Coach. Let me just check in the room. Do we have any embargo questions?
No embargo answers.
Embargo.
No embargo answers.
You want to have a second bite?
Yes.
From Shane?
Coach, you just triggered something from your response about your squad. How have you managed to handle Teto? looking at where he comes from. I mean, Coach 𝐒𝐳𝐿 once went on and lambasted the young man. What have you done to him to get him back to this form?
Well, maybe I'm lucky in that in my previous club, I also had brought Teto. I brought him back from Scotland to have him at cheaper. So I've worked with him. He's a player with lots of potential. Young players make mistakes. But it's always about second opportunity. You know, also in Apologise is a story we'll always talk about. So we have to be patient with him. He's had a very difficult period, obviously, you know, going abroad and not having an opportunity to play due to documentation and not necessarily ability. But he's back, he's doing well. Very good player going forward, very good in 1 versus 1. Nice balance and coordination and a good finisher. And yeah, he's a trump card for us. But there's a lot of other players that are doing well for us. And Nkosi, obviously, a lot of young players, Sifiso Mazibuko. But I think also it's credit to the senior players that are in the team. Abel Mabaso, Prince Ngumalo, Vusi Sibia has been out injured. Hopefully we'll have him back this week. Veli Motwa has not had the best of performances in the last couple of games. But I think we have a good squad, a good team cohesion. And whether it's a project or not, whether it's 3 years or not, we need to get results. And this weekend we need to push to put our best foot forward, like we do every week. But we need to put our best foot forward this weekend more, because there has to be a winner, and the incentive is much greater in a very short space of time. So I think that's the drive in cup competitions, that the incentive is much, much greater, and it's in the shortest space of time in terms of the number of games that you have to play to achieve that. And also Tuks, when Tuks got to the final in 2009, you know, the kit manager was telling me this week that, coach, when Tuks got to the final in 2009, at this stage of the tournament, we played a PSL team. So we are hoping that history will repeat itself, and we are working towards that. We can't just hope, but we are also working towards that. That to be successful, you have to go through the hardest journey. And the first part of that hardest journey we've done, to travel to Uppington for 10 hours and to travel back, and it had its effect in the following week. It takes long to recover from that trip. And this is our second hardest challenge of a PSL team, and it doesn't come any harder than a top 3 team. And that's what makes champions. If we want to win this tournament, if we want to get to the final, we have to win the game on Sunday.
Thank you, Coach. We still have time for one more question if there are any takers. Going once, twice, and going, Coach.